There's a major ruling from the state's top court today on transgender rights. The Utah Supreme Court decided on an issue of gender identity and birth certificates. Fox 13's Ben Winslow is live at the Matheson Courthouse in Salt Lake City with this story. It's a big deal, isn't it, Ben?
Yeah, this is a historic ruling on transgender rights in the state, and it's taken 3.5 years to get here. The Utah Supreme Court has been deliberating it that long. Now, the issue is over gender markers on birth certificates. Now, when a person changes those documents to match their gender identity, most Utah judges do this without any kind of problem. But for Sean Childers Gray and Angie Rice, they had a judge in Ogden who refused. Now, because the Utah Supreme Court oversees all judges in the state, they were asked to weigh in. And what the court did today was issue a 4-1 decision that judges must grant name and gender marker changes. Now, for transgender people in the state, this is a very big deal. The marker is used for things like driver's licenses, health care decisions, as well as even like airplane tickets. But Angie Rice told me today that it's also about human dignity and telling people that they belong.
Travis Wayne Goodsell. In World War II, as I will be putting the pictures at the beginning of this video, so that you've already seen them, the Nazis designated identification categories for not just Jews, but others whom they chose to target. But mostly it was for Jews. Thus the Jewish Star of David used for the identification purposes. And as you can see, the Germans also required, although it looks French, with this particular one that I'm using of the female identification card. But you can see the Jewish star to identify her as a female Jew. And as much as if we didn't have World War II with the Nazis and the concentration camps and the human experimentation, tortures, and the gas chambers, you would think that everything would be fine. And in fact, that's exactly what led up to it. The German government began an identification process prior to the concentration camp lockups. That's how they were able to round people up, is by their identification. And so this is a warning for any future people, regardless of what country you're in. And I'm giving the warning to America. We've already been through 4 years of neo-Nazi MAGA. You guys know what happened. You guys know what they were trying to continue to do had they won the election. You know what they're trying to do now, such as in Arizona, trying to reverse the decision. And if they can succeed, they'll go to other states. But we also have midterms. We also have a 2024 election. If we do not hold all those who incited what happened the previous 4 years and thereafter, the election loss, if we do not lock them up, let them know it's unacceptable, let Americans know it's unacceptable and must not be practiced. they will rise again. In the state of Utah, yesterday, a new batch of laws were passed, but also there was a judicial decision that was reached in the courts here in Utah, and that is that transgender persons can now have a judge change their birth certificate identification. I won't get into the science denial involved with that. This is a warning with the identification. All transgenders know what Trump and MAGA and the GOP feels about transgenders and what they want to do to you. What's the best way to find out who you are? And so as much as you think it's a win for transgenders, that you have succeeded in getting people to accept your denial of science, that you can now finally be treated as human and as equals, which you already were. They can now use it against you when they rise again, to identify you. See, for homosexuality and lesbians, they have to catch you in the act. But if you've decided to have your identification, whether it's your driver's license, which this was for this, but the birth certificate now will go on to their driver's licenses. When the authoritarian Nazi, neo-Nazi future police pull you over and they're looking for people who are not pure, if you're unfamiliar with the law that was passed where they used the Constitution of Texas, which was developed specifically to ban blacks from voting. They used the code word purity as they tried to sneak in that word for this new bill to deny blacks the right to vote in Texas. Such will be the case when they rise again. And so if you're getting married civilly as lesbians and transgenders, yeah, you've now got an identification. This potential rise of authoritarianism can go through the marriage records and identify you that way, rather than having to catch you in the act. This is the danger that is coming. Utah is alt-right conservative. As much as you want it changed, it's the federal government that has to step in and change the state of Utah to get them to conform. That's always been the case since Brigham Young, who founded this area by exterminating the indigenous people and establishing his kingdom. It took the United States of America to come in and shut his kingdom down. And now they're a state in the Union. And you have President Oaks declaring that states should be able to be independent, that they should make up their own rules. The Constitution says this. I remember some president not too long ago who said that Article 2 of the Constitution allowed him to do whatever he wanted. So please, quit trying to establish your identity and just accept that you're human. Because there is a deep danger coming. I don't want anybody hurt. But knowing what is coming, I'm giving you the warning. And unfortunately, YouTube is a part of this threat that I speak of. And so very few of you are going to hear this warning.